2 Chronicles Chapter 33. Manasseh ascended to the throne at the age of 12 and ruled over Jerusalem for 55 years. However, he committed evil deeds in the sight of the Lord, mirroring the abominations of the nations that the Lord had driven out before the children of Israel. Manasseh rebuilt the high places that his father, Hezekiah, had torn down. He erected altars for the worship of Baal and constructed groves. He worshipped the entire host of heaven and served them. He even built altars for these celestial beings in the house of the Lord, despite the Lord's declaration that his name would forever be in Jerusalem. In the 2 courtyards of the house of the Lord, Manasseh set up altars for the entire host of heaven. He engaged in detestable practices, such as causing his children to pass through the fire in the valley of the son of Hinnom. He practiced divination, used enchantments, engaged in witchcraft, consulted with familiar spirits, and consulted with wizards. His actions provoked the Lord to anger. Manasseh also placed a carved image, an idol he had made, in the house of God. God had previously promised to establish his name in Jerusalem and refrain from removing Israel's foot from the land as long as they obeyed his commands, laws, and statutes through the hand of Moses. However, Manasseh led Judah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem astray, causing them to commit even greater wickedness than the nations the Lord had destroyed before the children of Israel. When the Lord spoke to Manasseh and his people, they refused to listen. As a result, the Lord allowed the captains of the king of Assyria's army to capture Manasseh, who was taken among the thorns, bound with fetters, and transported to Babylon. In his affliction, Manasseh implored the Lord his God and humbled himself greatly before the God of his fathers. He prayed fervently, and God heard his supplication. The Lord responded by bringing Manasseh back to Jerusalem, restoring him to his kingdom. It was during this time that Manasseh realized that the Lord was God. Afterward, Manasseh undertook significant construction projects, including building a wall on the west side of Gihon, in the valley leading to the Fish Gate, encompassing Ophel, and raising it to a considerable height. He appointed military commanders in all the fortified cities of Judah. Manasseh removed the foreign gods and the idol from the house of the Lord, along with all the altars he had built in the mount of the house of the Lord and in Jerusalem. These he expelled from the city. He restored the altar of the Lord and offered peace offerings and thank offerings on it. Manasseh commanded Judah to serve the Lord God of Israel. Nevertheless, the people continued to offer sacrifices in the high places, but only to the Lord their God. The remaining details of Manasseh's life, including his prayer to God, the words of the seers who spoke to him in the name of the Lord God of Israel, and his sins and transgressions, are recorded in the book of the kings of Israel. These include his prayer, how God heard his plea, his sins, and the places where he erected high places, set up groves, and established graven images before humbling himself. Manasseh died and was buried in his own house. His son Amon succeeded him as king. Amon assumed the throne at the age of 22 and ruled Jerusalem for 2 years. However, he followed in his father Manasseh's footsteps, committing evil deeds in the sight of the Lord. Amon sacrificed to all the carved images his father Manasseh had made, serving them. Unlike his father Manasseh, Amon did not humble himself before the Lord. Instead, he trespassed more and more. Amon's servants conspired against him and assassinated him in his own house. However, the people of the land executed those who had conspired against King Amon, and made his son Josiah the king in his place.